Tom, you're in the seat for the start. That's
I
unusual.
am in this seat for the start. I'm learning how to do this better,
There
as
you
we
go.
go along. Hey, man, it's springtime. It's springtime. The
Cheers.
Atomic CEO podcast. I am
Well, today
excited for today's
actually, today
episode.
is opening day for baseball, and we're not watching the Mets, which is a little weird for us.
Well, I'll make a little confession. It's on. I'm
Nah.
just it's just on in the background. It is the bottom of the eighth inning, and the Mets are up 11-5.
My
Opening
goodness.
day is the Mets day all the time. And it is awesome. The winning percentage of the Mets on opening day is like 700. It's insane. They are always they come out with with a bang. Usually I'm there though, but it's now with my son playing varsity baseball. He has a game this afternoon, so we couldn't be there.
Well, that's it,
So
man. We run
we're
businesses, but we're
here.
there more for our kids and our wives and our clients. And we have a nice special guest here with us today, who is a very similar mindset. Ryan Musselman. Say what's up, Ryan.
Hey guys, you're talking about baseball and in spring makes me want to get like a really cold beer and an overpriced hot dog, maybe two, maybe some nachos with jalapenos. Now you've got me on a whole binger here.
See
Yeah.
that's why we
Listen,
go to City Field for the Mets, because if you go to Yankee Stadium, boo, you get like sushi and champagne, and it's like, what is this? What is this?
yeah,
Whoa, that's a,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
a
Well,
context switch right there.
City Field is still expensive, Ryan. For your two hot dogs and a beer, we're looking at like maybe around $30 to $35 in price.
It is always worth it. It's about the experience, and I think the more and more we do things like this, which is like you're in Texas, we're in Long Island, and we're meeting this way. It's wonderful that technology allows us to do it, but it's more about the experiences that we get to have with our families, with our clients. We do these amazing dinners. It's all this cool experiential way of being with other people, and I appreciate it more. And I think all of us started our careers in the 90s and have transitioned through, like, you only work that way and now you work this way, and it's a beautiful blend. So I think people like us appreciate more that, wow, someone else likes to be in person, likes to go to, and they'll pay for those experiences. Unfortunately, those experiences are very expensive now, but I think they're even worth it if you had to save for it or if you're splurging on it. It's you get something different out of that vibe. So, but hey, man, thanks for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Oh, grateful you guys had me. It's overdue for us.
It is,
We've
and
had too many
this will
conversations.
come out in a few weeks, and it'll be interesting for some of your people to be like, "Oh, there's Ryan again. What's going on?" Because you've been, as we were talking earlier before the podcast, you've like been in the lab, doing your thing. But we asked you to come on here today because we admire you so much. I've learned so many things from you, whether it was through the writing that I read or conversations that you and I have been lucky enough to have with each other. And I really respect all the venues you've taken to build your business, build your life. And the thing that I admire most is when I do get the chance to talk to you, it's never really about the business. It's about why you're doing the business or what you're trying to impact or how it's aligned with who you've become or where you want to go. And that's really why we asked you to be here. It's those kinds of people that you rarely come across. So before we jump into that, people who don't know, you want to just explain a little bit about who you are, what you do, and maybe what differentiates you?
Sure. I don't know if anything differentiates me, but I've been around the LinkedIn space for a good 3 years or so. And my entire background is in sales and marketing. And back in about 2014, I was working at Google for a few years, and I went back into the startup space and was leading digital content companies, a few of them all the way through acquisition, and was a good supporting role there, a supporting cast member there. Then back into the startup world again, and then finally in 2022. I left my job. I was working at the corporate headquarters of a movie theater company called Cinemark. You guys may or may not have that depending on where you're at. One of the larger chains. But I was their VP of content, and what we were trying to do is bring YouTubers to the big screens, the silver screen, to see if there's a business model there. And I think it's more boutique in nature, kind of like a sniper. You're just picking off, doing little things here and there for like special theatrical events. And after that, was like, well, why don't I just go into a content business for myself? And I started posting on LinkedIn, then started ghostwriting for coaches on LinkedIn, and then eventually went down the one-to-one coaching route for content, and then the group coaching route. Then ended up building a couple of businesses with AI, and here I am. I'm just kind of continuing this giant iteration that feels like a lucrative experiment
Mm.
in a good way and in a way where there's just constant learning. So it's been a ride, man. It's been a good one. It's
It's a
been a
fun way
fun
to
one.
say it. I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were talking about what it means to have fun as a business owner. And they said when you're having fun, you're at the edge of your capabilities and you're pushing it
Mm,
further and further. And then they were contrasting that to people that have anxiety, and they're like they're beyond their capabilities, trying to catch up with themselves almost. And that's
yeah.
it's fun because not to use that word again, but you always seem like you're having fun. That's why I enjoy our conversations or little DMs back and forth because it is literally fun for us. Tom and
Yeah,
I
it
say we
is.
play all the time.
Hmm.
That's what it feels like. It feels like we're both playing and learning at the same time. And when those two things are stimulated in your mind, I think you start making actual progress in ways that relieves the pressure to perform. So it's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. The premise behind why we bring people on is to understand a little bit of their journey, how they became the CEO. And regardless of how you listening or you, Ryan, even feel about that term CEO, what we mean by it is like you're in the charge of your life and your business. Like you really have agency, you really have certainty in why you're making decisions to take certain actions or to step away from certain actions you've taken in the past. So for you to arrive where you're at, having the flexibility and freedom to really do the things and experiment, as you say, what are maybe some of the beliefs that you either had to adopt or had to eliminate and overcome to start down that track?
Yeah, I think there's this weird transition you go through of unlearning when you leave the corporate world and you start doing your own stuff. That was the first place for me of I have all of these processes and protocols and policies and got to align this duck with that duck and check the box with this department and that department and then you can launch, right? So you're beholden to a lot of processes. Not that they're bad. I understand why they're in place, but when it's you and I'll dramatize this, when it's you against the world, there is no formal process. All right. The formal process becomes get your next sale and then figure out a system to do it as fast as you possibly can. So I had to unlearn a lot of process thinking and and really cut that out to get to the agency when I say that, and you guys know what I mean when I say this, but for the viewers, agency in terms of my own decision making, I had to drop a lot of that stuff that I didn't realize how much it was deeply embedded and how much it actually slowed me down. Right. So you hear people commonly give the advice of you don't need a website, you don't need a logo to get started, you don't need all that stuff. Well, if you're not careful when you transition from the corporate world, you will think like that and may even literally lead you down the route of saying, I got to get the website in order first. Then I got to get the logo and I got to figure out the brand colors and what's my mission statement and what are my content pillars and all these different things. When in reality, it's better actually just toss that stone in the water and see what kind of splash it makes allegorically. Get started, see who responds. If people are responding well, double down, scale it. It's going to be ugly and nasty, and you're going to be petrified for a bit, but that is the only way through. And when you let go of all the process stuff, then you start seeing that progress that you didn't even know you were capable of achieving.
It's 100% right. It's so funny. I had similar experience, like going from the corporate world to running a business and now running one with Adam. And it's amazing. So many people struggle with that systematic approach, and they're like, I got to go do all those things before I can get clients. And the key is just go get the clients, right? Adam, I tell people all the time, you don't need the LLC yet. You don't need the website yet. You just go get the clients and start working on that. So Ryan, you've transitioned now a couple of times since you left the corporate world, correct? Like you've done a few different things. What was a belief that you had to, once you got to these new beliefs, what was something that you had to unlearn to be able to move from these different businesses that you're doing right now to go from one to the other?
Yeah, I love this question because it shows like how much we add process back in to our own process after
Exactly.
unlearning process. Like we're just default process makers, man. Gosh, we're so dumb sometimes. So I kept thinking that oh, I have to build a huge brand every time I want to do something different, and I got to post all of this content, and I have to know get people to know, like, and trust me, all the time, and um, and it makes you forsake the active buyers in your network. It makes you forsake pivoting and testing and learning again just to go back from the start to see who would buy. So I kept thinking like, okay, here's my brand as it is today, and I'm thinking of making this pivot. So I'm gonna test some content. I'm going to build my brand. I'm going to rethink my LinkedIn profile, my headline, my banner like 10 billion times, right? And then I can like finally make an offer after I've nurtured people and stuff. And I think what happens is we develop these processes of I must have validation and I must have the trust with that validation because we're listening to the echo chamber of advice of personal branding that's out there. And there's a lot of good stuff out there. So I'm not slamming it all, but there's also a lot of stuff out there that if even if you've heard the good stuff, it will slow you down if you misinterpret it. Because sometimes when people speak with authority, we assume and submit ourselves to that authoritative person. They must be right. Look at all the followers and stuff they have. So we're submitting to someone else's authority, often subconsciously, and we're doing it with the wrong validation metric. Well, they just have all of these followers, so they must be right. And so I found that I really jumped into that a lot, and it became all of a sudden harder to pivot, but it should be easier if I left the corporate world, built my own business, crushed it. Pivoting should be a normal thing. Testing, learning new offers should be a normal thing. But if you're not careful, you will fall right back into the trap, just in a different environment of adding processes that don't need to be there, of gatekeeping, testing, learning, and being in the lab with the coffee, as Adam was saying at the beginning of the call. That will happen to you if you start listening to all of the different pieces of advice out there instead of just saying it doesn't matter how volatile a market is, it doesn't matter how saturated it is. I will just go and test and learn and get the answer for myself because every path to success, right? We'll use that in quotes, is just going to be different. It'll be an iteration of someone else's and an iteration of everything that came before you got to where you're at today. That was my basic learning there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's interesting the way you put it. It's like you retrap yourself. You almost build your own new prison that you're going to be involved with. And it's a good segue because for you to not trap yourself again and then pivot, what we say is the beliefs that we adopt or eliminate is really what drives our behaviors. So how did you prevent yourself from being trapped? It's great to believe like I can't be trapped, but how do you actually not stay trapped or move past maybe a temporary trap?
Yeah, I forced myself to do a few things. One, I've gone on a couple of LinkedIn hiatuses where I just say it's the building will not burn down if I don't have a personal brand, or if I have a personal brand and I pause it, like the building won't burn down. And if I didn't do that, Adam, and I really like your question, then I would always be a slave to my own success that I built and live within that world of thinking I can only think like this. So I would take drastic measures, very uncomfortable measures like that to say, I'm going to pause this. I know that like I'm scared to pause something because I've invested so much time into it. I've gotten so much out of it, but I have to do that to really go down a route of being able to focus. I'm not the best multitasker. I like to really focus and obsess over one thing as much as I possibly can within my control to really get it right, to really make considerable progress in the fastest amount of time. But if I've got all these things going on, I get so scatterbrained with it. So that was really it. It's really just saying, I understand that this thing made me successful. I understand I've been known for this certain thing, or I've been able to do this certain thing. There's a lot of validation behind it. But in order for me to go and try this new thing, which will be uncomfortable, I have to uncomfortably leave this comfortable thing to be able to go over
Right.
there. And you have to do it in a way where you're catching yourself. So you're not chasing shiny objects. You're
Mhm.
not jumping to where the grass is greener. But who freaking cares? You're going to chase the shiny objects and just learn to course correct yourself. And you're going to look at other fields and say it's greener over there, and you'll go and chase it, and then you'll readjust. It's like at some point you just stop worrying about the things that you really like try to control, and you're just kind of like screw it, let's rock and roll, and I'll test and learn.
Yeah, that acceptance is really a big thing of how much we actually do control and what we don't control. And I've had to do this personally many times. Is literally write it down. I have my kids do it when they're frustrated. It's like, hey, okay, here's the situation that either you're super excited about or you're really worried about, and so let's write it all down and see like, okay, which pieces are absolutely not in our control, and let's not worry about those because that's going to happen
Mhm.
regardless of our efforts, of our beliefs, of our fears, of our disciplines. It doesn't really matter that that's happening, but if we do, as you said, really obsess and hone in on what we are in the control of, it's amazing the progress we can make or the failures faster that we can make to learn from in general. But the interesting thing is you were able to do that, but it's everyone's like, yeah, but I built this foundation and I have this
Mhm.
thing that's successfully running. And unless I'm independently wealthy and I have to pay the bills and I have to do that. So where is it at that point that you're either sacrificing taking the risk, or is it really you built up enough of a mental and financial war chest that you can take that hiatus and not do it?
It's always a combination of a few of those things, I think, right? Because when I look at, we'll use the reference of the personal brand on LinkedIn. So I was able to get to about 75,000 as followers or so before I really started to say, I don't know if I need this. I don't know if I need to keep doing this, and and going from there. Um, and but throughout that time, I was able to build a nice financial base, right? So I can take the longer pivot if I need to. Uh, but I think ultimately it just really comes down to you deciding what it is that you want. And like you and I have had in conversations before of what's going to make you happy in the situation, right? What is
Mhm.
it that you really want to do? And once you decide that, you realize, hey, I'm capable of getting a great job in the corporate world. I'm capable of building my own things. So why don't I just realize the capable nature of what I have and pair that with what it is that I really want to do and just freaking go for it. And I think that's probably how I think about answering that. I'm sure there's plenty to unpack there, but it always is going to be a combination of something like those variables.
It sounds, like Adam was saying, it's a risky thing for a lot of people that have built that foundation. What was the intention of your last hiatus? What was the reason why you chose to go into it and just get laser focused? What was the outcome you were really looking for?
Yeah, I've done it 3 times. One is because I didn't think I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I thought I was just gonna stay in the corporate world, right? So when I first started posting on LinkedIn, the first 6 to 9 months were really just me just doing it to network, right? And
Mhm.
I was teaching copywriting and so on, but I didn't have an offer. I wasn't selling anything. I was happy in my corporate roles. And then I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna stay in my corporate role." So I ended up just going off of LinkedIn. I deleted all these posts and so on. And then I finally came back. I'm like, "Actually, you know what? I'm gonna take a stab at this." So I rebuilt everything from scratch and then started doing ghostwriting. And Then I took another hiatus at another point and said, I want to get into like group coaching. I need to understand this. I don't want to be writing posts for people. This is before ChatGPT really started to take over. Um, so I did that and figured out a new offer and went down that route. And then another time I ended up just getting really, really sick, I think, from the stress of entrepreneurship and not being able to, really handle it in a mature light. And then this last one is really me just saying the online coaching world, I think, will change and it will be adversely impacted by AI. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, but it will be impacted. And even if it wasn't going to be impacted, is this what I want to do? And it was a great conversation that Adam and I had a couple months ago. And I think I conclusively came to a no, but not a no in like I'm just ready to burn this down. It was a no in the sense of the business that I have, I will continue to run for the clients that are with me and I'll continue to serve them well. But I also am looking down the barrel of AI and everything that's happening there and knowing my current history with AI. And it's like, not like it's been like 10 years or anything. It's been like 2 years, right? Of building business with AI, right? So I'm not trying to sound elongated there, but um, I know that I can figure that out, specifically in a content context. My
Mhm.
ultimate specialty is content strategy and that very specific marketing, specifically the bottom of funnel marketing, not viral marketing. So I like to write a piece of content that leads someone to take a next step, whether that's downloading an email or getting on an email address, downloading a lead magnet, or making a purchase. So that's where I've ultimately decided to go and taking all that experience and really honing it into one specific direction with one specific market that's really hot, AI. And so that's what led me to that decision, and that's usually how it goes.
I'm gonna just from an outside perspective, I'm gonna point one thing out. A lot of your content, while you feel it's really that bottom of the funnel and getting people to take actions, the way I've received it, and especially with having multiple businesses and being in this game since the '90s, I received it more as not you calling me to an action, but you literally saying, "Why wouldn't you do this?" Like, you're kinda
Mm.
out of excuses here, and, here's where we are, and you actually don't need to provide that, "Click here, do this, download that." It's more of like, "Hey, man, I'll put it out there for you, And now this is your problem to deal with because you know the reality of the situation. And that's what you have a really high level craft at doing. Regardless of any of the ways I've seen you communicate with people and the different versions that you've done it, it always comes back to that. It's like, it's the really obvious, eloquently described in a way that connects with somebody that they almost feel like you're talking directly to them. And then they're having an internal dialogue with themselves of, we always call it the bitch and the boss, you know? It's like we all have that dialogue in our brain, you know, and it's, you have a
Totally. Yeah.
unique way of becoming both of those simultaneously and then handing it off to them to be like, okay, you take it from here, pal. It's fun. It's fun for you to do, and I don't think any of the ways I've seen you in the few years that we've known each other deviate from that practice. You do the same thing in different ways.
Yeah, it's usually that psychological element there that will make someone pause and think. And often, what I tell my clients is when you're looking at social media content, which I assume they all do, and you see a post, and that post makes you think different, pause, want to take action, want to buy, want to get on an email list, and so on. Just assess why it did that. Write your version of that. And I know that's become really common advice, but actually taking the time to understand that versus just rewriting it for the sake of having your post go up the next day is such a difference maker. There's really, like, you guys know this, and the business building side of it. If you just master like one or two things, the stuff that comes after that doesn't need to be rocket science, all-starry, spotlighty. Even if it was mediocre, I'm not advocating for mediocre products or coaching or so on, but even if it wasn't as good as the marketing on the front end, it's still gonna be sufficient for someone to get a transformation. If that's what we're here at,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, amazing. Like, I'm watching the coaching world right now transform from the information environment where it's like, I get clients because I know something that they don't, and I'm going to teach them this and so on to, and I'll have all of these different trainings and there'll be hundreds of hours of training and all this stuff. I think people are going to go away from buying that because of AI. And I think now it's like, how about you only have 5 hours instead of 100 hours of training? And like, you have all the plugins and tools so I can just get started right away. Like, I can almost watch the videos on 2x speed, get the general idea, but you also give me the tool that I can use to go and implement that. I think we're going to see more of that. And I think that's a really important distinction to understand. Many people will keep playing the information game, but the information game is being solved faster every single day. So what is the tool? Like Claude AI right now that can be your computer and can do all types of tasks. So, we're going to Claude not so much for information, although we're doing that, but we're going there for now the system to run it all because
Mhm.
we have the abundance of information. We just want a system that allows us to take that information and use it faster and better and stronger. That's the key differentiator.
Yeah, I think it's at least the evolution we're seeing and I'm experiencing is it's a lot more of like taste, perspective, and really high level questioning. That's what I'm seeing a lot of the coaching go to. It's like everybody has, because knowledge is just ubiquitous now and it's at a touch of a button. Curating that knowledge to what's really in alignment with what you want to know or what you want to do is the difficult part. And I know a lot of people talk about prompt engineering. That's great, but you need now you still need to know what to prompt it. And it's really having, I think that's where the most valuable coaches, even when I go out there and utilize coaching services or people or even read a book, it's that level of their taste is very different. They can spot things between the lines that I wouldn't have thought of or said. And I think that's a lot of what Tom and I get to relay through our questioning
Mhm.
with our clients is really getting them to think differently for themselves. Not think differently because we think our perspective is so amazing. It's how do you dig around your own brain and look at things from a different angle and then take that new perspective and apply it to whether it's AI or your team at work or hiring a very specific person to do a very specific thing. It's really curating your own knowledge base and your own perspective simultaneously that I think is a humongous advantage that will in any industry, the cream's going to rise to the top. It's just you're going to have the best of the best still exist in any industry after some major paradigm shift happens like AI. I experienced it in finance when they made fiduciaries requirements. It was like 90% of the market was gone. I was
Yeah.
still left because I had other talents that were useful with the things that were left over. So I do still think there's a tremendous world of coaches out there that can do a wonderful job as long as they recognize what they're really special at. And that's the thing. We're all special at something, but none of us are really all that special, right? We do something special. We're not that special. Right? It's what can you do with that special thing that you have for others that makes the experience itself worthy of paying someone to do it for you. So
Yeah, and honestly, you don't even need to be special at anything. People will like you for your unique approach, your vibe, your take, your angles, your strategy. So their liking of you and your particular style of doing it is this special sauce, I think.
Mhm.
And so long as you're
Mhm.
out there doing the work and visible to the people who can
Yeah.
buy from you, at some point, someone is going to naturally gravitate towards you. And then it can be like dominoes of more and more people buying from you. So really just focus on what you're good at and your own style. Like I hate to say be authentic, but if we actually break down what that means, how to apply it, and then be okay with it, that's the big one, right? We think that we are okay with it, but in reality, we go and watch a bunch of YouTubers and so on and think, I got to be more like them. I got to be more like them. I got to be more like them. They're just being like them. You're proving the model, right? You're gravitating towards them because you like them and their style, even though we'll take the context of like a YouTube growth specialist, just like a LinkedIn, grow on LinkedIn. They're all over the place in every platform, but you gravitate towards a certain person because of their particular style and vibe. And that's what makes them unique to you. And that's totally okay. So you're more incentivized to really be okay with the authenticity. It's not that people don't understand that you need to be authentic, it's that they need to be okay with it and their own particular style. Monotone, charismatic, you name it, it's fine. Just run it.
Yeah. You're hitting on so many different behaviors that we've had to change now and how we look at things. And, we talk about if you're going to become the CEO of your life and your business, you have to behave certain ways. What's like a key non-negotiable behavior for you that you just you don't allow anything to get in the way of either when it comes to your business, or it comes to your life? What's that non-negotiable that allows you to be the successful person that you are?
Yeah, it's a very simple one. It's really gathering the right information, the right direction at the tip of the spear. Like, where is change really happening? What is the trend? Where is the market? Are they in a beginner stage, an intermediate stage, and a late stage? So, where is the market, and where do my skills uniquely fit into that market? And then just running with that. So, the non-negotiable in practice for me, every day from about the early morning hours to roughly noon or so, I'm in just like deep work extraordinaire, not anything special, but super focused. The phone doesn't come off sleep or D&D mode. I'm not taking calls. I'm not scheduling anything. It's research, apply, research, apply. Can I build a tool for that with AI? Great, do it. Can I not do it? Skip it. Right. So it's just thinking about what does it take to dynamically change to be able to fit into a particular side of the market. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing AI ads right now is because it's it's growing in popularity, but most of the market is in a beginner stage.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to get out there, and what I'm finding is you don't have to be like a cinematography genius to do this. You don't have to be creating films. You can leverage very simple skits, like think Geico style type stuff,
Mhm.
and you can make an impact, right? And so going down this rabbit hole has just sent me into that morning hyper focus, like fury of, in a good way, right? Of just really, really keeping my eyes locked on learning, growing, and absorbing, and fitting into the market with my
mm.
own style.
The question we get often from newer business owners is like, what will it feel like when I become this? Like, and they have these aspirations and they think life is going to be so rosy and beautiful. And a lot of the times we'll give them the hard truth of what it is. But when you truly had the ability to realize, like, okay, I am the CEO of my life and my business, either what happened or how did that feel for you?
It was very liberating in the sense of realizing, like, wow, I really am more capable of doing stuff than I thought. And I see now that I really didn't need to be all that smart to get this done. I make a lot of stupid mistakes. So I look at myself and like, dude, why are you thinking like that? Why are you in your own way again? Right? Like, not to get in your own way. Like, we've heard all those cliche things. So that that's really how I see that.
I love that. Yeah, because we one of my favorite people, Andreas. I commended him when he made giant progress, and he went from being a tutor to ended up having a giant business with 47 employees that gets people into college and making millions of dollars, and it's incredible. And I commended him because I said, "You were the only person I knew who was a part of a cohort I worked with. You were the only person that I knew that was willing to fail as fast as you were."
Hmm.
Yeah,
And it was just this constant iteration of everything, and that's actually what Naval Ravikant. I really appreciate him more and more these days, maybe because I'm getting older, and I like his wisdom and the way he professes it. But he says, "All learning is iterations on past failures." And the quicker I can fail in my life and realize, like, okay, I have to move forward, it allows me to do that, and that is in itself a freedom. It's like I
that's right.
I am capable, and that's what you said. I really don't have to be that intelligent. I have to be willing to take the risk, fall on my face, and see if it hurt as bad as I thought it would, and usually it doesn't. You've probably heard the have you ever heard the acronym for FEAR?
I don't think so, or maybe I have.
False evidence appearing real.
But yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one. I really like that one. I got to
Yeah,
remember
but
that.
but that's really what it is most of the time. It's just we're so scared of what may happen, but it's all kind of bullshit, and then we do it and realize, like, everybody else does the same stuff, and I'm actually, wait a minute, I am a little smarter than them. I can do this thing, and your capabilities just grow, or you get the knowledge for them, and that's really a beautiful thing. You were gonna say something, Tom?
Yeah, it's exactly like going back to Ryan's earlier point. Like he looks for the validation in things, and the validation just keeps the fear away. It's still there, but he's constantly dispelling that fear, and it allows him. Like he's not a guy that gets stuck in fear. It's just an observation that I can make from this conversation. Is wow, he really gets it. A lot of people should be listening to what he's saying right now because everybody has all this fear and they don't jump from one thing to the next like he's been able to. But looking for the validation, the evidence, that constant dispelling of that false evidence is what makes you less fearful and makes you fear less. And that's what allows you to keep proceeding, even though you know it's uncomfortable and it's going to be uncomfortable. But just going back to that original point about validation, it's so important that people that are trying to be successful that want to adopt behaviors. That's one of the behaviors truly that if I could take away from today with Ryan is that.
Yeah. I have one
Yeah,
final question, but before we get into it, if anybody wants to get to know you a little bit further or, follow what you're doing and be on that journey with you or work with you in any way, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you these days? It may change, but these days.
I think we'll just I'll make it easy on you guys. Just LinkedIn is still the thing. I'll eventually go back to posting there. I'm just kind of taking an intentional hiatus to focus on other things. So
Good.
that'd be the
So
best
if you're
way.
going to reach out to him, be intentional and be patient. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I see every DM that comes through. I just don't always answer
Yeah,
them.
there you go.
So
So the final question we've been doing with our guests that we've had on is giving them a challenge, more for the people that listen to this that don't have a business yet and are really being inspired by people like you, Ryan, to come on and say, "Well, maybe I can go do this thing." And the challenge is this: if I give you $10,000 and only 2 hours every single day and 1 year of time, how would you build a sustainable business? So ten
I
thousand
would
dollars, 2 hours, 1 year.
I 100% would master the art of advertising. So most what I have concluded in my experience here is that usually most people will come into the space like this. And this is my own bias, right? I'm gonna just admit that right now. And they're gonna say, I need to build a brand, I need to start posting content, everything we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast. It's gonna take them a long time because they're gonna be very gentle about how they position themselves online when you don't need to do that. Right. So you're gonna want the certain feel, the certain vibe, the certain you're gonna think about all those things. But you have active buyers right now. They're ready to buy from you today. They just need to know that you exist, right? And so $20 per month would be spent on AI or some type of system, and maybe $100 per month right now. Go and build out your Claude stuff so you can actually start creating whatever product information, product tools that you would want to sell. And then I would go to something like the Facebook ads library, the LinkedIn ads library, the Google ads library, all the stuff that they must post online. And I would just go and study the best possible ads that you see that make you want to buy. Study them, study them, study them, and then get out there and test with advertising, pointing people to a destination where they can buy. That's what I would do. because all you ever need to solve is traffic to a product. You solve traffic to a product and you'll know it's working because that thing will not only be attractive, it'll help the people and give them that transformation. You can build whatever you want in any category you want. You can go teach people how to sew, how to build a farm in your backyard, all the AI stuff, or even still how to build a business online, like all the stuff that you guys are doing, right? But again, just master advertising so you can get a traffic source to a product, to an offer. And if you only ever figure that out for the rest of your life, you'll create whatever job you want, and you won't care about building a brand. You'll just always go and focus on the active now buyers. That's been the transformation of my philosophy. I used to not think like that. I used to think like curate slow over time, build trust, build likability, build the no factor. It's not that no, like, and trust is wrong. It's not wrong, and I'm not hating on it. It's not the enemy, but that KLT thing can happen a lot faster than you think. And I'm biased by my own buying behaviors and looking at clients who I've never met before and how quickly they bought from me. So those types of things I think will help someone be really comfortable if they were to have a small budget and want to pivot. Just get proof of concept. The whole like fail as fast as you can thing. I love that, even though we'd call that cliche, because again, if you understand what's not working and you start to understand what is working, you can double down faster. So your decisions are really like, they're much easier to find than we think. We just allow all of these other like these side quests to keep us busy, and they feel like the main quest. They feel relevant to the main quest, but they're not. But just kind of bull rush it out there, for those of you that feel comfortable going at a fast pace, and just figure out what happens when you get the right traffic to the right offer. And it's going to be ugly at first. You're going to try it and fail. It's going to feel volatile, and you're going to doubt it, and you're going to probably say that you'll never listen to this podcast again. Well, welcome to the club, man. That's what we all have to do, and that's just a part of it. Some people figure it out faster, and it looks much easier, and it builds confidence, and you go and do it, and maybe you're one of those people that didn't figure it out as fast, and that's okay. A lot of people have very similar stories. Very few have the, hey, I'm kind of an overnight success story. So
Ryan Musselman, thanks, brother.